But to have a business card with your name and your position and your contact details is very important in Asia. Don't run out. And also don't be seated until the host or the assistant helps you to place, because the host generally
Welcome to another edition of Podcast with Partners, where we look at designing, developing, procuring, and contract manufacturing products in China. Today, I've got Simon Chen, a good friend of mine, owner and proprietor of Fortune Village, allegedly the best Chinese restaurant on the left-hand side of Clarence Street.
That's correct, Hank, because we're the only Chinese restaurant on the left-hand side of Clarence Street.
Well, Simon, Fortune Village, you guys have been here for, 44 years, and a family business as well that was founded by your father. Could you tell me a little bit more about how you got here?
So I think Heng has neglected to say that actually I'm a Chinese, but I'm born in New Zealand.
Oh, yes, that's right. I'm not going to hold that against you.
Thanks. My mother is actually a first-generation Chinese born in New Zealand, so I'm a second generation. So we're authentically a fake Chinese restaurant here. But I have been in the industry for 40 years. I started in the family business. And when I finished high school, I went into the hotel industry as an apprentice chef and finished my time, was a hotel butcher for a short time, and then went to Asia to work. And they made use of me in the hotel industry in five-star hotels, and was working in the kitchens as well as got put out onto the floor, transferred onto the floor, where I learned my craft.
Wow, right. So which part of Asia were you at?
I was in Hong Kong in the 90s, just before the handover.
Right. So that means that you would have seen a huge influx of Westerners primarily going to Hong Kong for the purposes of going to China just before China opened up.
Not only that, but China was opening up, and the first generation business people from China were coming to Hong Kong as the central hub to do business.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you would have had a lot of experience in dealing with business people in a dining environment, which is what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
And so we allow for, of course, Chinese entertaining Western clients and vice versa.
Wow. Okay.
So you used to have two cultures that clash slightly.
Really? Well, that's something that I think we're going to explore today.
That's right. Yeah.
And let's start with, we are in a Chinese restaurant, so let's explore some of the idiosyncrasies with respect to having a dinner in China as opposed to having a dinner in a Chinese restaurant in a Western country. So let's start with this. When we go to a Chinese restaurant, we need to be particularly aware of where we're seated, because that is a cultural norm there. Would you like to probably explore a little bit more in your experiences in that area?
When we go to China, I would say that as a Westerner, you have a few etiquettes you've got to learn, right? Mm-hmm. And so with regards to the seating, the host will most likely greet you. And I think before the seating part, there's a bit of an introduction part.
Yes.
And I think that comes to the business card side of it. I would advise that anybody in your delegation, we might say, has a business card.
Yes.
Whether it's your secretary or your personal assistant, but to have a business card with your name and your position and your contact details is very important in Asia. Don't run out of business cards, I would say, if you're in Asia.
Yeah.
And there's a few other things that you have to worry about. Would you like to do a little bit of a role play there?
Yes, indeed. I think before we started the podcast, we were talking about how particularly useful it was if your business card was bilingual. Correct. Particularly if you were traveling to China a fair bit. Now, I brought my own business cards here today. Yes. This version is not bilingual, but the one that I do have in China is bilingual.
Correct.
And shall we have a bit of a role play as to how business cards should be treated?
Sure. Right. So, number one rule, make sure you have them when you go to your event there. Have them in a place which is not awkward to get. Like, don't be searching over your body for a business card as an embarrassment.
It should be quite fluid, isn't it?
Be prepared. You've got, like I have a card wallet here, and then when you present, ideally, to be impressive, you would have bilingual cards with perhaps English on the front and your Asian translation on the back.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have business cards and you're producing them, go for quality. Don't go for flimsy paper.
Cheap,
yeah. You want to make your company look impressive and your position look impressive. So it's important. We're all talking about image. That's why you've been invited to dinner as well.
Yes.
It's all part of the image.
Yeah.
So when we receive, when we get a business card and we present and we receive in Chinese, depending on the person who it is, you face their mother tongue, the language,
Towards the
facing
person
them.
receiving it.
Yeah, with the words facing them, not upside down, but with their
Yeah,
characters.
in a manner that if I'm receiving it, I
You
should
can
be able to read.
receive.
I should be able to read the characters
You have to read.
on the card in a manner that I need to.
Correct. And we present and we receive with two hands. So you can hold and
Yes.
receive.
Well, this
Right.
way.
Correct. Or I present. Thank you very much.
Thank
Right?
you, Simon.
Takes time, as Heng has just done there,
Yep.
to observe when you receive the card, the person's name, the title. You could even ask a certain amount of little questions there,
Yeah.
right? You may not know the person in particular, and the name might not be familiar with you because there may be a Chinese name. You may ask them, "Oh, how do I present that?
Yeah.
Sorry, how do I
how to
pronounce
address you?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
pronounce or
exactly
address you, yeah.
Yes, or look for some common terms for conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it's quite useful. I find a lot of people when they're in a dinner setting and if they've never met people before around the table, let's say you've got 10 people on the table and 8 of whom you don't know, they will line up the cards in the direction of each person, corresponding to each person. Have you found that to be the case as well?
Correct. I find that a lot of Western people, of course, the names are a little bit different. And so it's not impolite to put the cards down on the table in a sequence that works for you. So you might do it according to, as you're going around the table, the
In
cards
a
going
clockwise or
in an
anti-clockwise
order
manner.
which you can identify which person is which person.
Yeah.
And it helps warm up the conversation that you're calling the person by name.
Yes.
Right? Keep those cards clean.
Yes, indeed.
Correct,
Indeed.
right? Receiving a business card is a very honourable thing to receive.
Yes.
And so treat it with respect. Don't, if you give me the card, don't flick it, don't write on it, right? When you don't present it with one hand like that, don't receive it like that and then just put it in your pocket. Study it briefly, couple of seconds, show some interest.
And then you can
That's
move on.
part of the Chinese culture.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to pick up on one thing that you just mentioned very briefly, and that is don't write on a card.
Correct.
Yeah, it's quite offensive, isn't it?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people do that. Not out of it's not malicious, but it's just out of not being aware of the
Correct.
of that particular culture.
So you may have a notebook and a leather thing with some pieces of paper there. A lot of people have those. Take notes, right? Always have a pen if you can. Get a branded pen that is acceptable to show that you know that you at a certain level and I think don't come out with a plastic hotel pen.
Yeah.
Things like that just to impress your clients
guests.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we talking about business cards when this is supposed to be a program of etiquette? Because about dinner etiquette, it is because a lot of business is conducted over the dinner table in China extensively, and to a large extent also throughout most parts of Asia. So being able to understand the business card etiquette, how you conduct yourself before the meal commences, is indeed one of the more important things to consider. Now, so moving on from the business card aspect, so let's come back to where you're going to sit. Now, we was talking about the importance of seating, and my understanding was that the most important person in the room,
On the other party.
yes, on the other party, usually
host.
the
Your
host,
host, yes.
is usually the person that faces the main entrance into the room that you go to. Have you found
Correct.
that to be the case?
Yes, correct. He can clearly identify everybody if somebody's coming into the room as well. And also, don't be seated until the host or the
Yeah, sort of guides
assistant
you.
helps you to place. Because the host generally will have a strategy of how he wants the evening to go, who
Yeah.
he wants to talk to, how he wants to do business at the table.
Yes, and it's usually the case whereby, particularly if you are the most senior person from your group, the visitors, who are the guests, you're more likely to be seated on the right-hand side of the host, facing the main entrance as well. Have you found that to be the case as well?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, modern times, I think things are a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with an older generation or perhaps a well-established company,
Yeah.
they still do have these particular cultural
Quirks.
quirks, yes. And if you identify that, you should be very respectful and grateful in a way that, oh, I'm sitting next to you, I'm very let's
we're
say,
honored.
honoured.
Yeah.
So you identifying that at a formal gathering
Yeah.
shows that you know a little bit about the culture.
And I think
of
it will
your
be well
guests.
received.
Yeah.
It'll be
Correct.
well received, and I think you
Correct.
probably earn a few brownie points
Sure.
from respect perspective, isn't it?
From the little things like the business card and the presentation and the receiving to all these cultural, yes.
Right.
Generally, also, no matter how hot it is, I wouldn't take off my jacket.
Yes, indeed, yes.
And in that type of formal setting, you dress accordingly. So if you're going to, everything's about preparation. If you're going to China and you know it's in the middle of summer, I wouldn't be using wool suits or, heavy, right? Especially when you're going to business meetings. I mean, everywhere is air conditioning, of course. But if you take off your jacket, it's a little bit too casual at that type of setting.
Yeah. I think a good way to sort of look at, make a decision as to what you're wearing is to look at what everyone else is wearing.
Correct.
And you find that the more senior the person, the higher the chance that person's actually probably going to wear a suit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would probably say if it's your first visit to China, your first meal, you need to do a little bit of homework and not just what we would say in Australia, rock up and wing it, right? Because there's a lot of cultural things that you need to know. And you want to make yourself look good.